Welcome to BrotoGP. This is episode number 111. The Valencia round just happened and 2018 is over. But if you watched all the races, you would have seen that at least for two of the classes, something very, very unexpected happened. We got plenty to talk about this time, so let's get this one moving.
Hey guys.
Hey Kev, how you doing?
Feeling very gentlemanly tonight. I've
Yeah.
got my 1886 first edition copy of Dante Alighieri's The Inferno, printed in Florence, printed in Italian.
I love how you were just on page 1.
Yo, bitch, the season ended. We need new beginnings. That's the beginning. Every end is a new beginning. Haven't you ever heard the song Closing Time? Closing Time.
Oh, I love that song.
Anyways, yeah, exactly. So I got my Orvieto white wine, and I'm ready to discuss. I'm ready to discuss in a gentlemanly fashion in my bathrobe / smoking jacket, which gives a full view of my chest pubes, and a hint all the way down to my ball fro.
That is a plunging neckline.
It is a plunging neckline if you ever saw one. That is.
I've never heard the term ball fro before.
It is my chest pubes to my ball fro.
Is it just one solid carpet?
It's not solid because the amount of gray on my head travels intermittently throughout my body. I'm striped like a tiger. I'm the next phase of human evolution.
I was just thinking that. Man.
It is striped like a tiger, but I wear Sex Panther at all times. 60% of the time, it works every time.
I can feel Danielle rolling her eyes up in the other room right now.
Well, so you say that 2018 is over, but we actually still have to talk about the final race. So we're not going to cover the test today, just because it's still ongoing.
But we will discuss the fact that Iannone showed up to the test today wearing the same clothes he wore the night before on his Instagram profile.
I feel like that's acceptable in a part of 2018 because he hadn't yet ridden the Aprilia yet. Yes.
He rode something that night, but it wasn't an Aprilia.
Many things that night.
Shlabam.
Oh man, no, we're gonna.
Speaking of riding many things and potential pitfalls of living such a dangerous lifestyle, BrotoGP is brought to you by Riders Law. Should your riding lifestyle cause you accidents on the road,
not at the racetrack,
in a transportation aspect, you can feel free to call Riders Law or go to their website, riderslaw.com. That's not Riders Law, WITHZ. That's Riders Z Law. Get it? Because we always say Riders Law with a Z.com, but that could be its own website. Some entrepreneuring BrotoGP fan out there should take that website and just have it linked to Iannone's Instagram profile and then make Sai buy it from him.
Riders Law. Wait,
with a Z.
Dash with or just with a Z.
Riders Law
no dashes.
with a Z.com.
I feel like
Riders Law with an ass.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I could spend $10 a year on that. Domain names are cheap.
Domain names, exactly.
Done. I just got on right
Dennis
now.
just got on. He's doing it.
GoDaddy.com, baby.
GoDaddy, exactly.
I already have an account. That's how we have BrotoGP.com. So we'll just link it to. We'll just add it and put a forward in.
While gentleman Kev is here deciding whether he should smoke his Partargis or his Monte Cristo, I feel like if Boston was here, he'd say the Monte Cristo. So I'm going to go with that one. You will see, let's see, to my left, you will see Engineer Rob. Earlier, out of context, he had, and I quote verbatim, "I need to go wipe off my face, and then we will get started."
That is true. As a witness,
Yes.
I will attest that he said those exact words.
Dennis does not lie, and Dennis is down and to my left with his... exactly.
hey, this skin, it doesn't have any wrinkles because it's so oily. So I gotta clean it off. You know?
That's extra virgin olive oil, guys. Speaking of Italians, just take Rob's head and just squeeze it like a net. Just like the initial squeeze, the virgin squeeze, just like you just hold, like the technique is like you come up from behind him when he doesn't know, and you just and just like there's a perfect olive oil. Then you make some baked ziti with it. It's all good.
That's so gross. That's so gross.
You know what else is gross? You know what else is gross? The fact that Marquez crashed out of this race after it didn't matter. The fact that Dovi won the race again when it didn't matter. The fact that Danny actually didn't win the race this year, and I want to kill myself. And the fact that the most important thing that happened in all of the race weekend was not shown by Dorna because Scott Redding stripped down to his underwear, threw all his shit into the stands, and then rode his bike around in the rain in his underwear. But because he's going to BSB, which isn't owned by Dorna, they never mentioned it fucking once.
Ooh, yeah, we're gonna get to all of that. And just to round off Kev's first point there, please, if you need any legal help, especially in the state of California, give Riders Law a call. They're doing amazing things for our sport, our podcast, and they will do amazing things for you in the courtroom. So give them a call, and they'll take care of you.
Speaking of California, for all the shitheads who said I didn't post much because Marquez was doing well, California is currently on fucking fire, and I've been breathing like toxic arid smoke up here for like the past week and a half. I'm not super in the mood, all right?
Is it going a little better yet? You're the most north out of all of us, right?
It's supposed to rain in like an hour and a half, and then it'll be good.
So then we get mudslides.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. We every state has their natural disasters that they have to deal with.
Right.
Okay, so let's the first point that I want to start out with this week is actually just a continuation of what we were talking about last week. We kind of brought up the light at the end of the tunnel last week because Kev was feeling a little deb and a little down on the season as a whole, and I was trying to lighten the mood, trying to bring everyone up a little bit. So I think, I said Zarco last week. Someone else brought up Rins. So let's start out with Rins. Once again, Suzuki and Rins do amazing things. I mean, this was actually the first time that we've seen him actually look like he was going to win a race. I mean, there was so much tension in this MotoGP race, not just because of Rins, but because of other points that we'll get to, that I'm glad he freaking finished, unlike half of the field.
I'm glad he freaking finished. Title of Rob's sex tape.
Damn it. Set that one up.
Yep.
Now, Dennis, tell me how you feel about Suzuki moving into or at Valencia and then moving into 2019.
I'm not trying to. I don't want to be that guy because I'm always that guy where I kind of underplay the result. But I'm with Kev on this one. Like I'm
so understated, Dennis. So sublime and understated.
When it comes to Suzuki and Rins, I think the most that I could say or be excited for is I'm with Kev on this one. I'm actually glad that they retain Rins and that he's staying on that bike because they're improving together, they're gelling together, they're getting to know one another, and it's really evident in the results. So I'm not too stoked about this result because there's that whole like it's a wet race and he didn't really win it despite his performance. But I'm looking forward to what they can do next season for sure. In fact, if I find the time to look at the testing footage and the times, I'm going to keep an eye out for Suzuki and Rins.
The stability is definitely a good thing. I feel like when Rins first came into GP, he wasn't known for being consistent, right? He had the injury. He missed quite a few rounds the first season, and then he slowly built upon that.
And he really fell off in that year in Moto2, after he got signed for Suzuki. All of a sudden, like we talked about that, Zarco was the only one out of Rins, Zarco, and Lowe's that seemed to want to win that title.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so to see Rins finally get some consistency, right? I think the announcers kept saying that behind Dovizioso and Marquez, he scored the third most amount of points in the latter half of the season. And that's all down to Suzuki getting on the podium and him having good results, right? And it's that consistency is going to help him build on his results because you can't get faster if you're not racing the motorcycle. And that was one of the main problems that he had last year. But now he's finally able to do well. He's staying on the bike, and those results are coming. And now he actually looks like the rider that we hoped he would be in MotoGP, right? It's you want to compare him to Maverick, you want to compare him to Marquez, and you see that young talent, and when he's fallen off, you're not getting what you wanted. But now that he's actually staying on the bike, for me, he is a light at the end of the tunnel, right? He's going to make the championship more interesting. If we don't have freaking Rossi performing, we need some new kids to take up the spotlight, and Rins is going to do it for me.
Yeah, I like workhorses. I like the guys that put their head down and to get to work and to see the results coming in. Like that to me is very satisfying, and that's what Rins is for me right now.
And it's really the first time since Suzuki returned that they have a guy sticking around for that third year, that's on an upward trend. Like Aleix Espargaro never was on an upward trend on that bike. He kind of got it to that 5-6 area, but then Maverick was who moved it. But then Maverick moved on, right? He was podiuming, then he won his race, then he gets signed. Iannone gets some podiums, but he's leaving. He wasn't really on an upward trend. Rins is on a consistent upward trend with that bike, and now he'll be on it for a third year. And if Dovizioso has showed us anything, it's that there's some merit to the idea that just use the same guy, keep development stable, and continue to move upward. Like Jeremy Burgess, said back in the day that Yamaha was changing too many things before they showed up. Like there was actually too many things you could adjust and you get lost. And keeping some consistency with Rins, I think, is a really good idea. And I thought he was going to win the race. I really did. And and if it wasn't down to the aquaplaning bullshit, he very well may have won that race. But he looked good from the start. He was pulling lap times that no one else could touch. And to me, it showed he's, everyone said, oh, watch out for Jack Miller, even though he's not nearly as good as everyone wishes he would be. And watch out for Petrucci. But I'm like, Petrucci's not going to try shit. He's going to ride a factory Ducati in 24 hours. He isn't trying shit. And Rins was the surprise wet weather, and he was running consistent for a long time. He gapped him like a second and a half in the first 2 laps. Then those guys couldn't even touch him for a while. He was really, really putting in like a mature veteran performance. And it's like you said, last year, he crashed, but he fucking broke his back. There's some mental coming back from that takes a while. Just coming back to being confident enough to actually push hard and then lead development. Because like you said, you can't actually push development if you're not finding that last tenth where the bike is struggling to go any faster.
And the awesome thing about pegging Rins as a veteran is the dude is still so young.
Right.
There's still so much left in the tank. So
yeah, I just looked it up, especially when Kev brought up Dovizioso. They're 9-10 years apart. Right, Rins is 22 and Dovi's 32 at the moment.
Yeah.
So if he sticks around at Suzuki and if anyone that would have the results that he had this year with the most podiums in the team and getting, what did he have? Was it 4 or 5 podiums? It was 5 podiums this year, right? Yeah. Like Suzuki's not going to fire a guy that gets 5 podiums in a season, right? So even if they were to sign someone better after the next 2 years, right, they're still going to keep him around, and he will continue to build on his results.
Right, and that's they learned their lesson from firing guys early. And I also think that Mir, we'll see, but he never panned out in Moto2 in the way that we all kind of expected, in the same way that we expected, like someone like the way Maverick and Rins were able to. Rob, you always said that if you don't win, it's worrying a factory team if you're not a winner in your first season in Moto2, and I don't think Mir is going to be as good as people kind of thought he could be, and I think Rins is going to prove that he is as good as people thought he could be.
Well, Mir has a good goalpost as well, right? All he needs to do is be better than Rins was last year. Right, and with Rins having the injuries and the inconsistencies in crashing, the Suzuki is better now, right? It's the traction feel is amazing. They're still and the turning is quite good. Like they're still missing a few parts of having that bike be an actual race win contender in the dry. But everything that Rins has accomplished on that motorcycle, Mir is going to be able to take advantage of it. And I don't think that people are expecting Mir to come in and, you know, be as good as Rins, even though they're kind of in the same era of, you know, Moto2 racers coming up.
But one of the things that they have next year that they didn't have basically any year was next year a clear number 1 and a clear number 2. If you think about how they had when they came in, they had Maverick and they had Aleix. Who's the clear number 1? Who's, you know, one guy comes in with a better record, one guy's a veteran but not setting the world on fire. Then they switch it to Alex Rins and Andre Dovizioso, but there's not like a clear number 1. It was Iannone, but by default because of the injuries. You know what I mean? But what I mean by number 1 is he was still a rookie on the Suzuki.
Yeah.
Whereas now their clear number 1 is a Suzuki veteran who's a veteran of the team. Yeah, Iannone was the number 1 when they first started, but look what happened. They worried that he led them down a poor development path, or that the engine that he initially gelled with was not a great engine spec, and then they're obviously stuck with it because we have rules that keep people from being able to get better, which is sweet.
Yeah, and now I actually thought that's what you were going to say when with something that they're going to have next year is the lack of concessions. Right? We've talked about that previously. They have to pick a motor now. They're not going to be able to change it throughout the season. And I mean, based on what we've seen, Suzuki made big strides in both horsepower and drive this season, but is it enough for them to win races next year? Nah, I'm not sure yet. They'll have to make another step in this winter before they select their engine spec for the 2019 season.
Do you think that Suzuki's going to suffer from the lack of concessions? Or maybe it suffers too harsh of a word, but you know what I mean, like at a disadvantage to not have the concessions anymore.
Well, they're certainly in a better spot than they were when they lost concessions last time. Maverick won the race, they lost, and they had 2 brand new guys come in, test a couple times, then have to choose. Now, at least Rins, who's going to be the guy who clearly chooses what development path they're going down, at least as much as a rider can choose that, has 2 years of experience and upward trend to choose that. Iannone's and Rins' choice last year, the beginning of last year, or the end of 20, was kind of a shot in the dark.
I think that we will that it is a disadvantage for them, just because that's one thing they definitely need to work on with their motorcycle, right? Like, say, if Ducati, like, for some reason had concessions and then lost them, you wouldn't really care that much because they have the best engine on the grid. Suzuki doesn't have the best engine on the grid. There's still parts they need to work on. So it's a bigger risk for them because they have to get it right on the first test, or they have all of winter, but come Qatar, it's got to be done. And if it's not perfect, if it's not what they need for the entire season, then it'll be a disadvantage. We've seen.
Let me throw it back a little bit
yeah.
here. But are we still questioning Suzuki's loyalty or staying power in GP at this point? They've had history, so
little bit,
yeah,
little bit.
It's a new era.
They're not doing the 3 and out, but
we had this same conversation in 2007 when Christopher Mullen won a race. John Hopkins had a bunch of podiums before he became a drunk domestic abuser. I said it. And we all kind of wondered then what happened as soon as the going got tough. They bailed. I'm not totally sold on it yet, but they've certainly been around and focused and continuing to adapt and improve longer than they were kind of last time.
And am I wrong here to say that the era of the GSX-RR is a lot more successful than the GSVR for Suzuki?
Well, yeah, it's more successful in the sense that it had what you would call a dry win. And, for Mullen, Maverick's win was in weirdly cold conditions that were perfect for Silverstone, but Vermeulen won in the wet and then never really achieved that performance again. This year, they're looking a lot better. How many? You got the computer up right now, Rob, who's banned me from looking at my phone. They had a lot of podiums this year. How many podiums does Suzuki have? There's like 9 podiums this year.
9.
8.
It was 4 to Iannone and 5 to Rins.
Which
my
basically,
point is I'm kind of hoping the second coming means they'll stay. It kind of motivates them to stay and actually commit to the program this time.
If you get them to come a second time, they are going to stay.
And wait, if you get them to come 9 times, they're sticking around.
Yeah, they're sticking around, dog. I mean, if you get them to come,
they're gonna put a ring on that one.
That's half the time, son. That's half the races. You get him to come half the time, that's punching way above my skill set. Fuck.
I'm still skeptical just because of their previous antics with pulling out. But
that's my forte. That's my forte. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just like if the results were to turn down, if they didn't get any podiums for the next 2 years, would they start pulling funding out? Would they start pulling the plug? That's what I worry about. But it definitely seems like if we firmly call them the third best factory on the grid, like how could they leave? You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like they gotta stick around. All right. Speaking of factories on the grid and having commitment, factory efforts and having commitment to MotoGP, let's move over to KTM. Obviously, you've watched.
On me, man. That orange is
good. It is.
It looks good, son.
Yeah. I'm all for Halloween all year.
Liveries aside, how about that result?
How about that result? It only took fucking Pol Espargaro 19 years to get a podium in GP.
I still think it's funny because I had a bet with someone that Pol Espargaro would get a podium on the Tech 3 bike when he was teammates with Bradley, and Bradley got the damn podium and Pol didn't. Right. I lost it there. He's finally got that podium. He worked really hard for it. Like, not to be fair, but his performance throughout the entire weekend in the wet was solid. Like, he was in the top 5 for most of the sessions, and just like aside from the one mistake in the race, which ended up not mattering, he had an amazing weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly capped off an epic weekend for KTM. You know, we've talked about light at the end of the tunnel, and I think that 2018 was the changing of the guard season. I think it was letting us know the changing of the guard is finally happening. But to have KTM have such an amazing weekend from Moto3 to Moto2 to winning the Moto2 team championship, which obviously means they won a world championship in some facet, and then getting that first podium for the factory GP team, it was pretty awesome. They dropped a lot of fuck bombs, and I can say fuck on our show because we own our show, so, you know, fuck all. But they kind of like apologize for the fact that he was dropping F-bombs, and I'm like, why the fuck are you apologizing? This guy is genuinely stoked out of his mind. Pol said that getting that podium was more emotional than winning Moto2 World Championship.
Oh, yeah. It's GP.
GP, but just the amount of work and effort that went into not only KTM, but finally getting his podium that he hadn't been able to get over a couple of years, getting it for that team. And they're acting like, oh, we apologize for his language. Apologize for his language. This is how people fucking talk, bro. They fuck. We've already covered that the word is the essential sound that a human's lung and esophagus, based on their size, diameter, and length, make in all languages. All languages have an exasperated sound that sounds like fuck. Every language in the history of human events, because that's what we make when we make non-specific, excited, scared, or worried sound. He was jacked out of his mind, and it was fucking rad.
Dropping knowledge again, Kev.
Knowledge. That's how I do. Gentleman Kev dropped knowledge.
And going oddly blurry and then coming back for it. No, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, no, I mean, I just it's amazing to see that you can a factory can come into MotoGP, and if they have the funds and they're willing to put in that investment, they can take it to the established guard, to HRC, to Yamaha, to Ducati, right? Because that's KTM's whole plan here, right? They're investing supposedly 200 million euros into their entire program to have a race-winning motorcycle in MotoGP and to have a championship contender in MotoGP. And they're making adequate and correct steps to be able to do that, and for them to accomplish this podium here at the end of the 28 season just shows me that they're doing everything well. I mean, I do wonder
that no one in the history of the English language has ever been stoked when you referred to their performance as adequate. There is no event that you could possibly think of where you say, how'd I do? And they said, adequate. If Luca drops adequate on you, bro, you better buy flowers. You better be all the way for the flower shop, son.
That's prenup before the wedding kind of conflict right there.
Adequate.
I mean, on my end, if I get an adequate, I'm jacked out of my mind. But, you know, we're talking.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know what I meant. You know what I meant. No, so
I'm going to be honest what they're actually doing. They're one step closer to getting Marquez to that bike. They're one step. Pole got the podium. Zarco is going to take them a step forward. He's going to probably get him a win in like 2 years. And then as soon as everything is perfectly safe and approved and adequate for the move, Marquez will make the least dangerous move in the history of GP.
Yeah, because they'll offer him more than adequate compensation for that.
Are you two up for a quick pop quiz?
Ooh, I love
Go ahead, Dennis. Go ahead. It better be about KTM.
Yeah, it is actually. So in the little message that we have, I asked like whether whether KTM is going to eclipse Aprilia at some point. But now I kind of want to switch that a little bit. Like, is KTM on track to perhaps be on the same path of development success as Suzuki, or even better? Or could they better Suzuki?
Well, all right, let me address your first point real fast.
I go first.
All right, you go first. You go first.
So they got a couple things going for them, but I think the number one thing that's going to propel their development at a faster rate is the addition of the satellite squad. So Tech 3 is a well-established, long-term team with mechanics that know how to get a bike on the podium. For years now, Zarco's podium, Cal's podium, Dovizioso's podium, Bradley Smith of all fucking people is podium.
Even Colin Edwards, actually.
Colin Edwards, right? Ben Spee's podium. The list of people that they've been able to get to podium is huge. As a satellite team, they've done very well. They're a long-term veteran team who's been in the series. They bring a lot of stability, knowledge, and another set of strong, powerful engineers who've worked with another manufacturer. So you have 4 riders now developing a bike, plus a nice, strong test team that they've been working on for a while. And I simply see Suzuki as, Sylvain Guintoli is leading their development, and they've got 2 bikes. 4 bikes with a factory team and a team to the quality and prestige of Tech 3. It wouldn't surprise me if they slowly catch, then surpass. I know it's taken them a long time to get that first podium, and Suzuki did do pretty well. KTM was kind of a joke there for a hot second in the first year or so. But I think that once you start gaining steam, it's going to be exponential for them. And the addition of the satellite team, the addition of the feeder system. Again, Suzuki is signing guys like Rins on the hopes that he's big, and they're doing things like having ironclad 3-year contracts. So they're sort of gambling a lot, where KTM has a Moto3 team, a Moto2 team, now a junior squad. They bring guys up. They have a ton of money behind them. I see the infrastructure as being stronger. The foundation for a championship run is way stronger for KTM than it is for Suzuki. Suzuki still has to draw from Moto2 pool and hope they get someone good. That's not, a farm-raised person, and they still only have 2 riders to lead development.
Oh, and that's the thing. You're talking about Suzuki, right? Like Dennis's first comparison was with Aprilia. And Dennis, to answer that point, KTM beat Aprilia in both the team standings and the manufacturer standings. So they've already, 16 points really helped for this in this last round. And Bradley got a top 10 because he managed to actually, props to Bradley for pushing his bike back into the pits when the red flag came out so that he could restart the race.
I mean, Aprilia is a joke. We know that. Like the Iannone testing livery looks awesome, and I love that it's covered in giant hashtags when he was basically fired because of his social media presence. That was dope, and it looks good. But the Aprilia team is a joke. Like they're not even a real factor team. They still run on Gresini. Like they don't bring up from their Moto2 team or Moto3 team. So the whole idea of them being a franchise.
What sub teams?
Right. Well,
yeah, I mean, and to add to Kev's point about the infrastructure, right? They essentially have drafted in the two strongest teams in the lower, not in the lower classes. Well, so Tech 3, the strongest private team in MotoGP, to be a part of their feeder system, and then they have Aki Ayo's team in Moto3 and Moto2. I mean, there's a reason why Aki Ayo's team won both the Moto3 race and the Moto2 race at Valencia, right? Because and Aki Ayo is on top of signing the best riders out of the Red Bull Rookies Cup and out of CEV to make sure that his Moto3 team is strong. He brings up riders from his Moto3 team into Moto2 and has amazing help from KTM, right? Like, I think a lot of their results for the whole weekend were down to the fact that KTM has fuel and traction feel solid with those trellis frames, so the bikes were good in the wet.
Say it ain't so.
I know, it's so satisfying to hear Rob say that, talking like praise the trellis frame. Wow.
The trellis frame, praise it like it.
No, that was all you get. That was all you get.
The coming of Jesus in a tubular steel orange powder coated frame.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Body of Christ.
That's it.
The body of Christ
compels you.
Compels you. The trellis frame compels you. Compels you.
I'll have to eat my words if and when they win a race, with especially if it's with Zarco.
The body of Katoom.
Kev, we're losing you a little bit there.
Losing me?
I don't know. I think you might be yelling. You're overloading your new little tiny microphone.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My little tiny nub is overloaded. Sounds like a Friday night. Are we good? Are we good?
Yeah, it's been going in and out. I apologize, everyone, for the potential audio issues. Kev, we tried to get him a lapel mic so that he could have his back be rested and not have to like lean forward on his couch, but we'll see if it works out here.
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where
were we?
You're telling me that the lapel microphone negates my rants?
It actually, the last bit of yelling there, it kind of just cut you out.
You are telling me that the body of trellis compels you got cut out. What other podcast are you going to hear that on? Not Two Enthusiasts. What even the fucking kind of name is that? Not the Paddock Pass, which drops their podcast 5 weeks too late and shit. We're talking about the fucking trellis of Christ compels you, and they're cutting me off. This is some horse shit.
Remy, we need a meme for this, please.
Yes, exactly.
Help us out. Oh man, what else do we have to talk about with KTM? I feel like we got off topic there, which is normal. Why am I even bringing it up? Oh yeah, your comparison to Suzuki was pretty solid, and it just highlights the fact that we think that they're going to be strong in the coming years, right? And that's one thing. And Dennis, this goes back to your previous question, the one even further back, right? If Suzuki had a satellite team and had 4 bikes on the grid, there is no way in hell that I would ever question their commitment to MotoGP.
Yeah,
right. But they're always committed to only 2 riders. They have Sylvain Gintoli and they have their Japanese test rider. So I guess they technically are running 4 bikes throughout the season. But KTM has 6 bikes, right? They're gonna have all their 4 racers in the paddock, and they've got Kallio and Danny Pedrosa.
Let me
and
ask
you know that.
So we've established that we don't really have an Aprilia factory team. It's basically just Gresini. Which would you rather have? That Gresini continue on with Aprilia, or maybe they become a satellite Suzuki team?
Oh, that's a good...
all day long. Satellites. Gresini has an incredible record of taking established factory bikes and making it, and I'm holding my lapel microphone here so that it doesn't get overloaded, but they have a well-established record of doing so with Honda for years, and I think the Aprilia experiment is a failure. And I think if I saw them take year-olds, I mean, what do you think? What would Gresini rather have for 2019? 2019 Aprilias or the 2018 Suzuki?
The 2018 Suzuki.
Right. And what would Iannone rather be on? What would Alicia Spargo rather be on? What would any rider in the fucking world rather be on than an Aprilia if you were to say a 2019 RSGP Aprilia or the Suzuki GSX-RR?
I mean, even if we assume that Iannone is a better rider than Alicia Spargaro, Iannone got 4 podiums on the Suzuki. Like, he will take that same bike again. It'd be a little questionable because factory effort always helps the bike go faster, and being on a satellite team would slow the bike down a little bit. But yeah, no, I'd take the Suzuki any day. It's just, I mean, I like the fact that we have more factories on the MotoGP grid. We've talked about the other before and how having someone to root against or having someone to root for is helpful. I don't think that Aprilia plays that much into it, but there's potential there, right? There's more potential for growth and for improvement in Aprilia than there is in a satellite squad on like one of the shitty bikes, right? Like, that Avintia is going, that they're going to be at the back.
Right.
Whereas factory Aprilia, I could almost guarantee they're going to be better than Avintia, and then there's like 3 or 4 spots above that they could potentially be better than. And I mean, Alicia Spargo really liked the new bike. He said that it fixed a lot of the issues that they kind of created in 2018, and I think I think he even said that it was effectively like a hybrid of the 2017 and 2018 bike. So it seems like Aprilia is having a lot of the same issues that Yamaha is having, where they're having to, they made mistakes. Yeah, peak frame, and they're having to go back and find their strengths from previous motorcycles. So, I mean, it's just, and they have concessions, right? So the rules are structured such that the slow teams have a greater advantage for getting faster. And Aprilia...
Rob, you don't say slow anymore. You say result disadvantaged.
The result disadvantaged. Wow.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know.
Dennis good with that one. Fuck. Dennis liked that joke.
If we were talking about just results for 2019, the Suzuki, hands down for sure, like a satellite Suzuki. But promise for 2020, 2021, I mean, I don't want to kick a factory out of MotoGP just because they suck balls.
Yeah, it is nice to be able to say we have this many factory teams, right?
Yeah. Kev, what were you saying there?
And the bike looks terrible. It's just fucking hideous. It's so bad.
I like it in the solid red livery.
Right, yeah, no, the red one was awesome.
Or Iannone's testing livery looks good, but the stock color they got going on, like the muted ass weird greens and shit. What's happening there?
God, it just reminds me of Christmas every single time they run it.
Like a bad Christmas. Like the kind of Christmas where your fucking aunt and uncle drink too much and you find out they've been having marital problems and seeing a counselor and they've been trying to like spice things up in the bedroom, but like he's like a little too fat down low and she's a little too wrinkly out back, and it's just bad news, man. And then you're just thinking like you see that Aprilia and you just think like the Christmas that like Uncle John mentioned that he tried to spice things up with Karen by bringing some whips in or something, but it sounded good. The idea of the factory sounds good, but no, it's not. It's not.
This is why I don't often go back for family Christmases. Exactly what you just said.
Right.
I have a buddy that always says that Christmas is right around the corner, and he'll say that literally January 2nd, and he's right, man. It's right around the corner.
Right around the fucking corner.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad I only got 4 people in my whole family.
Oh man. All right, let's move on off of KTM. Our other main talking point before we get to funny stuff is Marquez's.
That wasn't funny.
No, it was funny. I just mean like little tidbit funny, like not huge overarching point.
Ooh, arching. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So our third primary point for this week is Marc Marquez's shoulder.
Correct.
So you watched practice, you heard about it. He managed to dislocate his shoulder twice this weekend, and then not finish the race. It's a bad look for him. HRC is going into their testing season with 2 injured riders. We know that Marc Marquez...
2 injured riders actually is 3. Cal Crutchlow is HRC injured.
That is true.
Dave Pedrosa, injured Marquez, injured Jorge Lorenzo, as our friend on the BrotoGP Army page pointed out. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. We're going to see how it plays out. They got...
that was such a good one.
Stefan Brattle and Taka Nakagami leading that fucking horse on where they're going to send development.
Oh, they're not going to listen to those two at all. Like, I mean, Brattle will put in the miles and he'll validate a couple of parts when he can this winter, but they're still going to build a bike for Marc Marquez, and they're going to just give him exactly what he wants. And he can show up at Sepang in February after his shoulder surgery and pick a motorcycle. And even if he doesn't like it, they'll still keep around all the 5 chassis that they made, and he can switch anytime he wants later on in the season. Like, I mean, they've come so far with engine development that the riders aren't complaining about that much anymore, such that I don't think they're going to be hurt by the engine development freeze, and it's just going to be pick a chassis, Marquez win the fucking races.
So are we not putting a lot of weight on Marquez's shoulder right now?
I'm putting weight on it in that just like Scott Redding did at the end of the last round. No, I'm putting weight on it is for him personally in his racing career, right? I don't think it's going to impact HRC all that much for next season, but I do think that it will eventually be his career ender. That specific shoulder.
Those kind of shoulder injuries even through surgery, it's never the same. The joint is just too complex. You see how much it's popping out now. You see the number of times. Normally, I wouldn't say because it doesn't seem to be affecting his strength or ability to ride. But what it does affect, at least long term, is his tactic of pushing hard to the point of crashing 2 or 3 times during the practice to find that exact limit so he knows where it is, right? Like, that's sort of his superpower, is knowing the exact limit and being able to ride there and not a smidge over, or at least because he can find the actual limit. But if he is becoming slowly more in danger of dislocating during the race, during the practice sessions, that's a problem. I mean, there is no one better than him right now skill-wise, but may come down to his, like a true Greek hero. His greatest strength is his biggest enemy, and his ability to push the bike that level of speed and then find the limit and then ride right along it will eventually be his downfall. I mean,
yeah. So that was one thing that I was confused about this weekend, and it just made me think about the rest of the season. How can he crash that many times throughout the season and not dislocate the shoulder? But then he gets to Valencia when the track is wet and he has what seem to be similar low sides and dislocates it, right? Like it seemed every time he dislocated it this round, I think it was from rolling in the gravel, but he's done that previously at other races and come away clean. It happens both times.
Scott Redding knocked it fucking loose, man. Every single time. It's a little bit easier to dislocate every time. I told you I have a friend. He dislocated his arm. He shot a double leg takedown on a guy shooting one at the exact same time. Their hands hit. It's on video. Their hands hit like this, and boink! It dislocated his shoulder. And it was pretty nasty, and then slowly, but he got surgery, but it's never the same. And this is a young athlete. I'm not talking about some like fucking old guy like our age. I'm talking about a young wrestler, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu competitor, athlete, someone who is in shape and look good. Slowly but surely, he got to the point where he dislocated it in his sleep, turning over onto the pillow wrong.
Yeah, and Marquez seems like he's at that exact position right now.
Slowly getting there. So, Scott Redding slapped him on the back and dislocated his shoulder.
I'm going to go ahead and put the devil's advocate hat on this one. I mean, the real Dennis agrees with you guys, where It could be
don't cover out that hair. Don't cover out that hair.
Telling me that alternate Dennis is showing up? Ooh.
No, devil's advocate, all for the sake of argument. Okay, this is legalese. Keep up. So, I get it. You know, I'm right there with you guys that maybe Marquez's best straight could be his own undoing as well and finding that limit. But we've also remarked about in the past how he's also a guy who's able to learn and evolve and adapt. And he's been racing with a guy who's disciplined, who doesn't crash too often, i.e. Dovizioso. So maybe he just needs to get to that point where he realizes I can't keep doing what I do, which is finding the limit, crashing and stuff like that. Maybe I need to just ride smart, just like Dovizioso. So
here's the thing though. I don't think he's going to learn that in the next, at least for the next year. And I'll tell you why. He normally learns because of negative reinforcement, right? There's like something went wrong. He crashed out. He had a bad crash or something, like he didn't score points. He didn't win the championship.
Mm-hmm.
With this surgery and with him winning the title and with him still winning a bunch of races, the negative reinforcement of the shoulder is gone. Like he's gonna come out of the surgery, super young kid, best doctors on the planet. They're gonna tell him it's so much better than it was before the surgery. You're great, and he's gonna think that, all right, this is never gonna happen to me again. Right? They fixed it. It's good. Like there's the one solution. So he's gonna continue next year.
Consequence-free environment his entire career.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to go into next year with the exact same approach as he had in 2018. He's going to continue crashing. Like, we'll see the crash statistics come out soon. He probably made it into the high 20s or 30s for a total number of crashes for the season, which is absurd to still win that many races in the title. But he's going to do it again.
That's why I was actually looking up, like real quickly looking up shoulder surgery, because I wanted to know if after surgery could you actually come back 100% from it.
I mean, it's questionable. I haven't seen many shoulder dislocations like Kev has. I've seen rotator cuff injuries,
right?
And those are, I think that those are generally worse because it's a tear to the tendons and ligaments, and it's much more damage. So I have seen people like from it, and this is all stemming from my rock climbing experience, that have destroyed their shoulders and never been in the same again and never been able to rock climb in the same way. I've also seen people get 3 surgeries, like 2 to fix it and 1 to pull all the scar tissue out, and then to be fine. Like, I mean, maybe not.
To be fine as a professional athlete functioning fine is different from
That's true. And I mean, all the people that I know that have had reconstructive shoulder surgeries are not professional climbers. They're all, mediocre climbers. And
damn, Rob throwing secret shade. Mediocre.
Adequate.
Oh, sorry, I meant
adequate. They could climb a V6 at best. V6 at best.
What's this? Who's the strongest climber I know that has had shoulder surgery? No, I think they were like V3, V4.
V3. I could climb a V3 right now, son. Right now.
Yeah, that's why I said mediocre.
Right. I don't climb though. That's the point. I don't climb. That's
mediocre
the point.
Kev.
Mediocre Kev.
Kev off the couch in his bathrobe. We'll climb a V3.
Correct.
Just it depends on which gym you go to. We'll go find one in Yosemite for you after it stops being all smoky from your Northern California fires.
I didn't say outdoors. Jesus Christ. I'm not a crazy person.
Well, that's just cheating, because then you could pick like a super featherback gym and just be like, oh yeah, they called it a V3.
I'll just pick a big dyno V3 because I'm 6'2" and just jump it. Boom! One move, done. Just a fat dyno, shaklang on a sloper, and then just a grab on the top of the wall. I'm like, I made it. I did it.
Hey, they said V3. It counts.
They said V3. It counts.
It's on your 8A.NU card online.
I wish I had one of those.
So speaking of adequate, Dovizioso.
Shall we? Well, so no one else kind of addressed. No, we kind of did.
No, I mean, here's the thing on Marquez. He is the best rider in the world, bar none. The biggest problem I see with what you said, so what Dennis said, he definitely can adapt. We've proven that. He wins in his rookie year. He wins.
I feel like he's proven that.
He has proven that. But what hasn't been proven is, can HRC adapt? What happens when HRC doesn't suddenly have a rider that can just mask their problems? Because Danny Pedrosa went from one of the best riders in history to I can't win a race, and Jesus Christ, I just hope he can podium in his last race.
So sad.
Right? So sad. You know, Cal Crutchlow, yeah, he wins a race here or there, but it's nowhere near the level that he probably could be considering what he's able to do. Like, if HRC suddenly doesn't have a rider who says, hey, man, I'm only going 90% during practice instead of 99% or 103%, which is really what he's doing, 102%. He breaks the limit to locate it because I can't. What happens when they don't have a rider whose genius masks any problem that they have? Because you've slowly seen. I mean, I refuse to believe that Danny Pedrosa just suddenly sucked this year.
Well, and it's been a slow downward spiral for him because they've been making a Honda that suits Marc Marquez. Like the second best Marquez on the grid is Cal Crutchlow, right?
Right. There's a reason Danny left. Like all the lucrativeness that is HRC's, you know, Honda ambassador, blah, 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 all that, and just went to Red Bull.
Yeah, I never really thought about that before. Like he would kind of be useless as a test rider for HRC because he doesn't have that style, because he's not able to pursue the Marc Marquez riding of tuck the front any chance you get to find the limit. Like right. he hasn't gelled with the tires or with how the Honda uses the tires. Like they say he can only perform when it's really hot because otherwise he can't get adequate heat into the tires. Using that word again just for you. And it's really hurt his results. It's ever since Marquez started really winning, Danny's results have kind of been on the downslope. But yeah, I mean, it just
you look at what happened in Danny's last year before Marc Marquez, he won like 7 races.
And still no title. Poor Danny Pedrosa.
And then he slowly goes. Yeah, exactly. The only guy in history whose career success or failure is predicated whether he won the entire thing.
God damn.
The most unfair litmus test anyone's ever had, right? Like, but for me, the biggest question mark for Marquez is if his shoulder does cause problems long term, is HRC able and willing to adapt to a guy who no longer rides around their mistakes?
I mean, maybe that's why they've signed Jorge Lorenzo, right? They see some writing on the wall.
What sweet justice if they kicked him to the curb once he was down and out. Oh, I'd love it.
It'd be so great. But the timing would be perfect for him to go to KTM though. Like we would love it in that HRC kicks him to the curb, and we'd also love it in that he's going to a different factory and just right away. Right. So, I mean, HRC has built the dream team. Yamaha did it with Jorge and Rossi many years ago. HRC is trying to accomplish the exact same thing now, and they have their number 2 rider will probably not act very much like a number 2, and will adapt to that motorcycle as best quickly because of his experience on the Ducati. Like, it's going to be a very interesting year for HRC, and they're really making sure that if Marc Marquez does present any problems, they still have Jorge right there.
Right. They still have the only guy that's proven he can actually dethrone Jorge. And I say dethrone as opposed to beat, because the one year where he didn't win the title, Rossi beat him too, but beating him for second place isn't beating him. Dethroning him. Only one guy has proved that he can take the title from Marc Marquez, and that guy is now on that team as well.
That's Soriano's prediction. Is that Jorge Lorenzo will go down as the greatest rider of all time because he will beat Marc Marquez on the same motorcycle.
Correct, and he will win a title from 2 different manufacturers.
Oh, I see. He's like Stoner incarnate, right?
Right.
Yeah, but more awkward turtle.
Stoner has left his association with Ducati once again, and all of the talk is that he will be rejoining Honda again to help test ride, which is interesting that they would take the guy.
Well, I heard exactly the opposite. I heard that Marc Marquez threw so much shade at Casey Stoner that it's not going to happen. That HRC is not even going to pursue it. Like Alberto Puig said, like, oh yeah, maybe we'll think about it, but we're really happy with Brattle right now.
Yeah, even if you're right, it's all the more reason for Stoner to go back to HRC and help Lorenzo take it to Marquez again. It's gonna take two former world champions to dethrone Marquez now.
I'm not buying it. I think that Casey Stoner is worthless as the test rider that HRC needs, or that
I'm not
that
talking
any
about
of the
test rider.
top
I'm talking
factory.
about rider coach for like Lorenzo.
Oh, okay.
Worthless. Worthless.
Absolutely worthless.
Worthless. Not a fucking penny. Casey Stoner comes up and says, hey, I got an idea. And fucking dude reaches into his pocket for his pocket change, pulls out like 60 yen. And he's like, yeah, not worth it. Not worth it.
Nope, not worth it. Here, I'll tell you why. Casey, he had the injury, right, that took him out for testing pretty much all of this season. He hasn't shown any motivation to want to actually test the motorcycles, right? The only testing that seems to accomplish anything in MotoGP these days is full-time testing. Like, you're not there to go race wildcards. You're not there to talk to the fans and to be a liaison of any sorts. Your whole job is to test that motorcycle as much as you possibly can, as much as the factory will want you to improve the rideability, to improve the performance. Casey Stoner, he's not motivated, right? Like,
Rob, I don't talk about Stoner a lot or have conspiracy theories. I'm just having my Stoner conspiracy theory right now. Okay, let me have this. Let me have this.
All right, take it.
No, that was it.
Oh, you just want it. You want me to stop talking shit. You want me to stop talking shit about Casey Stoner?
I'm just like I said, I'm just throwing out my own conspiracy theory for shits and giggles. That's all.
I
know he's done. I know it's kind of, I mean, he's not interested anymore.
He wants to be done, and more power to him. Like, he told Ducati to kind of to take a hike, and Ducati, he claimed that Ducati wasn't listening to his feedback. Well, when you only ride the bike twice, how good is your feedback? Like, of course they're going to take Michele Pirro's feedback, who has so many hours on that motorcycle that he's probably hitting the tire allocation limit from Michelin, such that he can't actually test the motorcycle anymore, right? Like, they're going to take Pirro's feedback over Casey Stoner's because Stoner hasn't ridden the bike nearly as much.
I feel like the problem with Stoner's feedback is he's such like a savant.
Well, that's like, another very good point. Yeah.
The running talk was that, like, Michael Jordan is a terrible coach because his response is you just do it. Because he tapped into something you can't be, right?
All right, Nike.
No, I mean, fuck Nike and their sweatshop style. I mean, the entire management of Nike can go get waterboarded for all I give a fuck. But, like, what I mean is, from a skill set point of view, he was just tapped into something so unique that to try to explain what he's doing probably just makes very little sense. Like, he heard it, like, he's a terrible coach. He was a terrible coach, terrible basketball coach or advisor to other players. You saw that when he went back to the Wizards, like, because everything's just connected to you just do it, right? Or what I mean, you just do it, not the shitty Nike slogan, but the idea that he understands what that means. On a fun,
it's just innate, right?
It's innate. Casey Stoner going fast, like we've often talked about. Rossi's the GOAT, right? He's the greatest of all time because of what he's done over the breadth of his career. And Marc Marquez might be the most skilled rider we've ever seen. He's completely fundamentally changed what it means to go fast on a motorcycle. He has done what Kenny Roberts did 30 years ago, which was change the paradigm of motorcycling. And what was the quote from The Simpsons? Are these words that stupid people use to sound smart?
You keep talking. I'll look it up.
Yeah, exactly. We got to get one in there. But Casey Stoner may have been the most naturally talented rider in the last 25, 30 years. The ability to simply go fast on a motorcycle, not change the world, not adapt, all this, just simply the innate ability to be fast on a motorcycle. Stoner, and I'll be frank, I'm not a Stoner fan. I've always thought he comes across as a whiny bitch, but he is definitely probably the most naturally talented rider I've ever seen in 25 years of watching MotoGP.
All right, Kev, what do you got? Kev.
What do I got? What is...
You're looking at your phone.
There we go. Proactive. I'm looking at my phone because you messaged me.
Yes. No, I did it on purpose.
Proactive and paradigm aren't these buzzwords that dumb people use to sound important. Not that I'm accusing you of anything like that. I'm Fired Army. Oh, yeah. And he says, oh, yeah. So, yes, very proactive. But I think Stoner is the most naturally talented guy. I actually wonder if his natural ability gives him a hard time conveying what he means to like other people. Like I train with this guy, and I hate to keep referencing jiu-jitsu, but I train with a guy who's so naturally talented that numerous people have said don't take his advice because it makes no sense, because he's tapped into something other people can't be. So if you like Tim Ferriss's like accelerated learning or art of learning, he's talked about like all these different systems. That one of the things you should look into is people who succeed in positions they shouldn't have, right? And or people who succeed in certain situations that don't allow you to, and or despite certain things, and that's how you find it. But Casey Stoner was so naturally talented that trying to pick his brain on how he succeeds seems to be almost like a fool's errand, because it's not going to make any sense to you.
Yeah, so I think that portion of whether or not he can help out a factory will mostly be in rider coaching, right? If he does become Jorge Lorenzo's rider coach, then that would affect it. I would think that would slightly disprove your point, Kev, but I don't see that happening either way.
I would love it to disprove my point, to be fair. Yeah. Because Jorge Lorenzo is no slouch. He's a 3-time world champion in GP. He beat both Casey Stoner, Valentino Rossi. I say both, but he beat Casey Stoner, Valentino Rossi, and Marc Marquez.
Yep.
He has the ability to beat the greatest of all time. To beat them. Right? I don't know if he is or not, but he can beat them. Because when you talk about who's the greatest of all time, at least in the last 25 years, there's only 3 people on that list, and Jorge's beat them all. So now he just needs to tap into the one dude who can help him maybe dethrone Marquez from the inside. The Trojan horse, dog. He's coming from the inside. He's taking him down.
And then the flip side of Casey Stoner. The flip side of Casey Stoner is, of course, the question of whether or not his riding style is any way applicable to anyone else on the grid. And I mean, we've talked about it so many times before. I'm not really going to get too deep into it. But
I'm not really going to get too deep into it. Title of Rob Sex Tape.
All right, I'll leave it there. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Any more HRC talk before we move on to our last couple of points here?
I mean, it's the thing we talked about, that I hate to ever root for an injury. I really don't. They're still human beings, and I don't want them to be in pain, and I don't want them to be injured, right? Like Marc Marquez, despite my dislike of the market, I don't dislike who he is as a person. I dislike the marketing machine behind him. And if you ever need an example of why, see how when a million people crash, no one says a word. Marc Marquez crashes. We got to red flag this thing. It's too fucking dangerous. Marc Marquez crashed. We got to red flag it, right? Like, it was so obvious. I almost threw my fucking computer that we bought that random day when we had the podcast and my phone was broken. I almost threw that shit out the window.
Why didn't you start with this? I didn't even know you were going to talk about this, Kev.
I'd make rubber. So my point is I don't dislike Marc Marquez either as a rider or as a person. He seems like probably a nice guy, and he's a hell of a fucking rider. But I hate the marketing machine that's behind him that tends to force him down our throat. And if you ever wanted a more clear example of the inherent bias towards it, Jack Miller crashes out and he's furious all weekend afterward, the remaining weekend that they didn't red flag the race. But Marc Marquez crashes out and it's instantaneous Steve Day, we have to red flag this race. My point being, Marc Marquez is injured and needs surgery, and that sucks, like on an empathic level. I don't want him to be in pain and be worried. Jorge Lorenzo has a fucked up ankle. Hand.
Wrist.
I don't know what's an ankle.
Wrist.
Right. My ankle's right here. I was looking at it. That's why I said ankle. It's his metacarpals, not his metatarsals, that are injured. Mm-hmm. And then Cal Crutchlow has an incredibly serious injury that will probably affect his gait, the way he walks it's bad. And
for the rest of his life.
Right. And I don't care that Cal blocked us. I don't care about any of the weird shit that happened. I don't want him to like have that kind of problem. But if you were to ask me whether 3 lead riders unable to lead development is an adequate viewpoint of RC for the off season, it's adequate. It's adequate for me. That's an adequate situation. If I need to assess the situation,
it's adequate.
Adequate.
If there's one thing or one sort of style of rider or group of, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, that we tend to root for is the underdog. And I'm all for parity in motorsports. I'm all for making it easier for the slow guys to go fast and making it harder for the fast guys to go fast.
Again, it's not slow, Rob. it's nearly 2019, bro. Performance challenge.
Oh, that's what she
Results disadvantage.
Results disadvantaged.
Hey, look, man, we own the show. We can say whatever the fuck we want.
We can say whatever the fuck we want.
Well, there are rules, but we have crossed none of those lines yet.
Fuck those shitheads.
All right, let's move on to.
One thing we root for, it's the human sexuality personified that is Andre Iannone. Y'all just skipped over the fact that he basically walk-ashamed himself. He posted a picture of him and his dude friend that night, showed up the next morning in the same clothes.
Is it really a walk of shame if you really own it that hard?
If you own it, dog, if you just own it, you're like, look at me. I like Everett's point. Why even race for Aprilia? Just be a model.
Hold the umbrella.
No, I mean, yeah, exactly.
That would probably work out quite well for him. You know he's gonna do that in. I mean, what? So he'll be in World Superbike within 4 years.
He'll model before World Superbike.
World Superbike is a pool of dads, bro. Like there ain't no place for Iannone in that.
Iannone is clearly like 19 chicks' dads. He's not a father. Like fathers go to race. That he has sired offspring is a different conversation of whether he has if you get involved in that, you even know he's not going to be around, and that's just a thing that you accept.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the modern era rock star is what he is. Somehow he's pulling it off.
So, yeah, exactly. Not really, considering he's on the fucking Aprilia.
Well, yeah, I guess I just meant he hasn't been like called out for. No, I'm not going to go there. Yeah, moving on to world's fastest dad, Andrea Dovizioso. Actually, I don't even know why I put this on the list. Like, he rode a very smart race. When Rins seemed to have trouble in after the restart, he took advantage of it and won the race.
Yeah,
What's there?
One thing there's to talk about. One thing is like, we had the Dovey on Cloud 9, which was the worst hashtag of all time.
That was a whole year ago.
It was more than a year ago. What I'm saying is he won his race. Then the next season, he won the title, and everyone wonders if it's a flash in the pan style situation. This year, I think, despite the fact he didn't truly fight for the title, he won 4 races. He had a very well. Dovey has proved that he is a force for the remainder of his, the next few years on that Ducati.
And possibly his career. Yeah.
Possibly his career. Because I got to assume he's one of Ducati's best riders they've ever had. He's going to be, muraled on the wall in Bologna. And I think that at least
he's what they hoped Rossi was going to be.
Yes, exactly. Right. He is, he's here and he's solidified his position as a solid top contender. I don't think he's going to beat Marquez for the title. I mean, I hope that'd be cool if he did, but he's at least a consistent. This proved to me that his results from last year weren't a flash in the pan, the meeting of all the perfect situations in 1 year.
I mean, the problem that I have is, I guess, the problem I have with the entire championship, right? If we get Maverick back, if we get Rossi back and they're battling for wins, they're all going to take wins away from Marquez, but not a single one of them is going to take all the wins away from Marquez. And the title challenge will go to Marquez. Will win 4 or 5 races. He'll get second in almost all the other ones, or third, and he'll handily win the title. Whereas everyone else will get an occasional win and then get way too many 5th places, right? Unless Dovey can make that next step, he's going to make the races entertaining, but the championship won't be entertaining, right? We need one and only one of them to make that next step. Right now, Dovey is the best shot on paper. Jorge might be the best shot not on paper. What's not on paper?
Spiritually?
Yeah, spiritually. We'll go with that one. Pulling it out of thin air.
Jorge, the Holy Spirit. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I want one and only one of them to take it to Marquez to actually make it a good title race.
I'm just hoping it's Maverick. I mean, we've been waiting for it forever, and hopefully Yamaha has fixed their shit coming next season, and we'll finally get what we've been waiting for. Maybe he's the guy that you're asking for.
You can't make fetch happen. Ugh.
Stop trying to make fetch happen, Dennis. It's not going to happen.
We've been promised a Maverick Marquez battle for too long now, and it's just oh my god. Even this race. So we'll transition to Yamaha here. Mistakes again. I mean, more traction problems, tricky situations, maybe not a handle on the electronics, and way too much tire spin. Right? Yamaha pulled out their rain deflector lower that's supposed to keep the water off the rear tire, even though I think I saw them use it in the dry at Sepang. I wonder if it would keep the rear tire cooler, warmer. That's beside the point. And they've got nothing. So they, I mean, Yamaha, definitive, yes or no, they are the 4th best satellite on the grid.
The satellite?
Sorry, factory. 4th best factory on the grid. God, botched it.
No.
No.
All
right. Firm yes from me. Kev, yeah. Decider.
Solid yes.
Solid yes. Dennis, you're overruled. They are the 4th best factory on the grid.
Firm yes to Dennis's moist no.
Hey, it was a wet weekend.
Exactly.
It was very wet. It got wetter when it counted and made for some exciting times. You really didn't jump on that one. That one was too obvious.
Too easy. Bitch, you tried to put that shit out there. You can't actively try to. You can't. Don't try to take back Rob's sex tape from me. Don't try to make that your thing. That's my thing. That's my thing.
Oh man. All right. We got one.
And I stole it from them and made it mine. Don't try to steal it from me.
Your new microphone sucks. Who did you steal it from?
My new microphone sucks. Brooklyn 99. It's, you know what? It's not. It's this bathrobe keeps folding over. I should have worn a regular shirt.
Oh, I wonder. Yeah, every time you hold it, you do sound better.
Yeah.
I will
man.
hold it from now on.
All right,
the king at holding it.
Our very last point is the amazing shit show that is Scott Redding.
Yes.
So he did.
No,
it is. It's absolutely a shit show, and I love it. It's great.
He's just not polished. I mean, hold on, I'm yawning for some reason. I have no idea why. That's crazy.
You don't yawn very often.
Just took your breath away, man. Jesus.
Rob takes my breath away.
Don't make me put the hair down.
You're right.
Wait, so why is he not a shit show?
He's just being him. Like, here's the problem. 99% of people are shit shows. They have no control of their, like, it's just that they don't put it out on social media because they only want their perfect fake version of themselves.
Hey, wait, hold on. I will amend that. 99% of interesting people are shit shows.
Yes, exactly. Like, Scott Redding is an interesting guy. I mean, he's not a slouch on a bike. Up until 2 days ago, he was the youngest ever GP winner, right? He simply... His timing was always poor. He got stuck on that shitty-ass customer Honda. And then he rode for Mark VDS, which sucks so hard. It's unbelievable. And they're out of the series now because how bad they're, you know, like, he is simply allows himself to be an unfiltered version of himself. Imagine, I mean, here's the real issue. The real reason people talk so much shit about him is because they wish they were him. They wish they could live a life where they simply did not care about the judgment of others. They wish they could be who they were and not be so focused on viewing themselves through the lens of other people. Scott Redding is as genuinely like honest as it gets. Sure, it's ugly sometimes, but it's just like the people who try to act cool by telling you like what shit they listen to and list their favorite movies because they like, you know, blah, blah, blah. Bitch, you still listen to Backstreet Boys, and when Instinct comes on, you scream it's going to be May. Like, Scott Redding is literally the guy who's okay with putting that out in the world. He's unfiltered and comfortable with who he is. And it drives me nuts that like him and Iannone, we're pushing out the people who give us a glimpse into who they actually are, because so that we have manufactured, you know, bland writers and characters.
I do think it's funny that Aprilia sacked Redding and then hired essentially the number 2 Redding on the grid. Right. Like if you have people that are in order of shit show, Redding is at the top, and then Iannone is second.
No, see, Iannone is that polished shit show. That's the thing.
Oh, the polished shit show.
Refined shit show, man.
Remember that episode of SNL where it was like talking about sexual harassment, and the guy sexually harassed the girl and she got mad, but then Tom Brady in a jockstrap sexually harassed her, and she's like, "Oh, you." Like, and the rule was don't be unattractive. Like, Iannone gets away with it from Aprilia because he's like really good looking and Italian. It's just context. He's as much of a shit show, but he's a handsome shit show, and he wears good leather jackets. Like, Redding wears monkey fresh, has a weave, and hasn't shaved in a month. Iannone has a perfectly manufactured layer of stubble that's just enough to show you that he's a bad boy, while wearing like a Gucci jacket and some Louis Vuitton jeans and nothing else.
So is Iannone manufactured, or
yes,
is that...
No, Iannone hired a professional photographer to follow him around and take candidates. Iannone's dirty boy image is manufactured. Redding actually is just some shithead from lower middle class England. And that's a compliment, dog.
Oh, man.
I like genuine people.
I love it. I love it. It's amazing. No, I mean, and yeah, MotoGP is definitely going to be losing something with Redding going elsewhere, and BSB is gaining what is effectively going to be a star in their midst. So they're
right.
Like, I hope that, I mean, we've talked about like the old British white guys and how they don't accept kind of this new sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
Patterson literally is complaining that the MotoGP E-Cup, the video game tournament, is getting too much coverage and it's disrespecting riders. You got like the kind of people who are complaining about video game competitors like it's not 2018 and video game, like, people watch people play video games on YouTube and get millions of views.
Yeah, way more than our YouTube channel.
It's not even close. It's not even close. It's like a joke comparatively. People watch. There are video game stadiums, son. Like these people are so disconnected with what the world is in 2018 heading into 2019. They're bitching and complaining online about video game competitors getting too much run, as if that's not a totally legitimate entertainment source for millions of people.
And we need all of those people to appreciate the original sport to keep it going. Because slowly, all your original fans just either stop watching or like die because they're so old. So you need to get the young ones watching the sport.
You are watching the show and you have kids. Your kids watch people play video games on YouTube. Straight up. Yep. That's the thing. That is a true statement of fact. And the idea that we still have the main English-speaking people covering this throwing shade at that is crazy. Like, that's how disconnected it is. And that's how people like Scott Redding get ostracized. And that's how people like Andre Iannone get booted, because they basically said that he was booted for outside of the track activities.
I really hope that the announcers, they're going to have to just shut up next year because we have Moto E coming on board. I mean, there will be a lot of hate at that class if it makes it onto the feed, because it's something completely new. And I mean, we're already seeing it on forums and on social media now. And I mean, I'm firmly a proponent. Like, I've researched Formula E extensively, and I've watched a race or two, and I see a bunch of the YouTube videos of all the people covering their new cars, and I want to do the same exact thing for Moto E. Like, I like the fact that Sete Gibernau is coming out of retirement.
I like everyone on the Moto E grid except Gibernau. I'm fine with because the class is at the very bottom right now. I'm fine with him coming in. I'm gonna watch him get his ass spanked, but he's gonna bring in plenty of fans that may not have watched the series otherwise. So that's why I'm cool with it. I'm not cool
ushering in the new age with the old age. Wow.
Right. Gibernau rode for Equatorial Guinea Southwest African dictator money laundering team. We all just act like that didn't happen. That happened. He rode for the Fernando team that was a front for a fake real estate embezzling property money laundering system for a bunch of Spanish mafia oligarchs embezzling and laundering money in a poor African nation. At the same time that they were pumping rides for life and Randy Mamola's like, I'm delivering fucking medicine all over Africa. Look at me. I'm so fucking great. I'm the big white savior. And in the meantime, the fucking one of the most popular guys in the grid is perpetuating this bullshit. They never talk about that, and no moto journalists ever really like delve into the fact that that happened. And the moment that real estate venture fell through, that team folded. The moment that real estate venture in Equatorial Guinea folded, they simply stopped that team, because that team was a money laundering team for a fucking dictator. Like, so that happened.
That was your line where we can't forgive and forget on that one. He crossed the line and went too far.
I can't do it. Like, that's too much for me. Like, until it's like, I can forgive and forget if you own it, but if that continues to be swept under the rug, I'm just going to continue to point it out.
All right.
Because that wasn't fair enough. Secret. That's not like riding for Paul Bird in World Superbike, and then you find out they're smuggling drugs across fucking like East European lines. Like, that happened too, by the way. That totally happened. Like, and that's not being like 17-year-old Danny Kent riding for the
Leopard Energy.
Right? And we make that joke. We don't actually know. But like, we know that the Franco Hernando Ducati team was actually that front for embezzling money. Oh shit, my battery's running low. Right as I talk about it. How come everyone
it's okay, Kev. We're about to close this one out. We've been talking about young kids, so let's give a quick mention here to Chan Onshu for winning his first world
Spoiler
Moto3
alert,
race.
I haven't watched anything yet. Jeez.
You already knew. I freaking put it in the damn syllabus. So he is now the youngest racer.
Ooh, huh? Rob.
What?
Freaking damn. Ooh, Rob, such language.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yep.
Say his name, please, correctly.
Chan Onshu?
Boom.
Someone, if anyone knows Turkish, feel free to correct me. First Turkish winner.
Pretty to be the first person from your country to do something.
Yep. Won his very first international series race.
Pretty dope. Is now the first something.
Is now the youngest winner of all time. He beat out. It's kind of. I'm a little sad, tiny bit sad that Scott Redding is leaving the series right as he has that removed from him, or his that record taken away. Because what else does he have? Like sad times. He will firmly go down as the worst placed Like the guy with the worst manager in MotoGP history.
I had to look it up. When you mentioned first Turkish winner, I had to look it up. I thought Keenan won his like wild card Moto2, but I guess he didn't.
Nope.
No, he
I
didn't
think
even do Moto2.
I don't know if he. I don't think Keenan even podiumed. I think he was like top 6 or top 7 at best most of the time, and he had a pretty shitty year. Podium. Oh, he did have one podium.
Yeah. Talk about a debut. I mean, that kid showed up as a wild card, debuted, won that race as the youngest rider, won it for KTM, first Turkish winner, all of that stuff. It's so awesome. I mean, I'm big when guys are the first from new countries. Like MotoGP is international sport. It's continuing to expand. Turkey actually has a pretty cool racetrack in there that sometimes I wish we'd go back to. I don't know if it's cool. It's a Tilke designed one, but it would be cool.
When was the last time we raced at Istanbul?
Cool to go back to Istanbul, get rid of some of those Spanish rounds and make it more international. And for me, like, it was just like a totally awesome new storyline. Holy shit, this is going to happen. This fucking young kid is going to win his debut race and look so fucking jazzed to have done it. It was hilarious. And he's like, this crazy Turkish kid. He's got long hair everywhere. He's just like, it was a fucking cool day.
Yeah, so of course, the last year we were in Istanbul was in 2007, and you know who won the MotoGP race. Dennis, who won the MotoGP race? Point to us. For where? Yep, there we go. Thank you, Casey Stoner. Actually, and Andrea Dovizioso won the 250 race, and Simone Corsi won the 125 race.
Dang.
Yeah, right.
That was a pretty cool. I know you don't have it in the symbol, so I just got to point out the dream was achieved, people.
Which one?
The dream was achieved, which was that no Spanish. I may be upset that Danny and Rossi did not win their race, but my sweet, sweet revenge is not a single Spanish rider won a Moto2 race this year. Not one. Nepotism is dead, folks. It rests upon the altar of Alex Marquez's career.
You know who was mediocre this season? The Mark VDS team in Moto2.
Yes.
And not just the riders. The riders definitely made some errors. There were a couple of times where things were looking good for the riders, but I feel like for Mark VDS to go from fighting for the title and getting wins down to the performance of this season, I feel like I got to blame a lot on the team. And obviously with all the shit that happened to them in MotoGP and all the drama with someone getting fired and then suing people and supposedly more was it more embezzling? There was something
super weird.
Yeah, there was a whole bunch of super weird. The Van der Straten team is not doing so hot. Like even Aaron Canet in Moto3 was supposed to be a title challenger, and it was effectively nowhere the whole season. Not a good look for the whole team, and that's what happens. Alex Marquez did not pull anything out of the bag to become the first Spanish winner of the year.
So
all right, I think we're gonna round it out, Kev. That's it.
Okay.
You win.
We'll talk about the changing of the guard and this being a transitionary year for the MotoGP eras on the testing episode that we will record.
Yeah, so
that sounds adequate.
An adequate end to this episode.
The GP test is going on right now. The debut for the Moto2 765 Triumph motors is coming up soon at Jerez. If you've been checking social media, people are already posting pictures of the new ECU and the dash and all that cool stuff that we get to see.
Only Ron would have social media accounts that he follows that post pictures of ECUs.
Yeah, I actually sent Kev like a DM of a picture of the ECU.
I can't believe that there are social media accounts that cater to people like Rob. That's just mind-boggling.
Picture of the circuit board and just got me fired
up. I think the handle is off bikes on Instagram. It's amazing. It's the only one I follow because they don't ever post spoilers, so I can actually follow them on Instagram. Everyone else.
That's the reason why I don't follow our own social media account.
Yeah, same here. Kev has to post spoilers. I don't follow them either. All right, we'll
just garbage shit of making fun of riders.
What? God,
I said all I post is just garbage shit.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm sorry about Kev's mic. We'll get something sorted out. I think you heard him most of the time. Something's funny is going on with it.
It's
but
not
all right,
Kev,
everyone.
it's garbled Kev tonight.
Yeah, it's garbled Kev.
Okay.
Terrible. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. We will catch you in a week or two to talk about some testing and the changing the guard and what's coming up for 2019. I'm riding at the track in a couple of days, the day after my birthday, and we'll be recording a shit ton of footage. That'll make it up on our YouTube channel, so check that out. Dennis accomplished his goal from R&D, if you've been watching our YouTube series.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. He's been posting about it on social media, so you probably already heard. And we'll be rounding out his...
followers follow me, though.
They probably do. Some of them do. There's one guy on social media that says he's going around San Diego just giving random high fives to cyclists in hopes that it's going to be me one time.
That guy's my hero.
Yeah.
Who's that
amazing.
guy? I love that guy. Get that guy on the show. Get him
Actually, and you know what he said to long-haired cyclists. So he knows.
Yes. He didn't specify male or female. He just long-haired cyclists.
Yes, that's true.
He is literally driving down he's going around that military base in San Diego, high-fiving everyone, including chicks, just hoping that person he thought was a chick was just glorious Rob.
Well, it wouldn't be the military base because everyone in the military's got the buzz cut, but close enough. I know what you mean. Yeah.
I went to San Diego once, and I hung out with Rob, and we ate tacos.
Did we?
No,
we had chicken wings.
The extent of my San Diego experience is 27 hours, and I included eating spicy chicken wings with Rob.
They're Korean chicken wings. They're amazing. It was a pound of chicken wings, and you got 6. Huh? No, it's a place called Cross Street. I don't know. I don't know what your fancy non-American words for chicken wings are, Dennis. Way to be cultured.
No.
All right.
Wrap it up.
All right. This is way too far off topic. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Click the bell so you find out so you're notified on YouTube when we actually post new content, because we're going to keep the videos going. Thanks for listening on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Spreaker. I don't know. There's so many more places. Tell your friends. Peace.